show prep, no solid plan. Spins a yarn, recants a tale. The esoteric approach won't fail. Tune in, it's time for Common Man. Common Man, Common Man. Charms the housewives like no one can. What'd you shoot? Where'd we play? Non-stop nonsense on deck today. Tune in, it's time for Common Man.
Oh boy! Why should anybody aspire to be a common man, an average man? Do you realize what it means to be average? That means you're the best of the lousiest, and the lousiest of the best. Now, if we demand more and more for producing less and less, while the have-not nations encourage and inspire and indeed require hard work and maximum effort, if we deify the common men while they encourage and reward the uncommon ones, well, the end result of such a lopsided race as that is too obvious to require elaboration.
I mean, it's like, hello?
Welcome back to the spotlight, young man.
We'll head to Buffalo, play on the road. I think the weather, of course, having spent a lot of time in Minnesota, I understand the weather pattern. Pick up the Calcutta Clipper, swings down, swings up, lakefront influence, and out. I think we'll probably have about 45-degree weather, so it will not be a typical October 31st in Buffalo.
Now what do you think? Before something restored. What do you think of that? Okay, I got a joke for you guys. What do you call big meat-eating dinosaurs that get into car accidents? What? Tyrannosaurus Rex. Get it? Did you hear the joke about the spaceship? It's out of this world. Why did the banana have to go to the doctor's office? Why? It didn't peel well. Why is 6 afraid of 7? I don't know what. Because 7, 8, 9. Why did the Triceratops need a bandage? He had a dinosaur. Now what do you think? What do you think of that?
Yeah, I always love that one.
What a snag!
I've seen enough out of Cousins, Paul. Put him on ice.
I'm going to say something controversial.
That's interesting.
A dog with a note in his mouth should be able to sell those ratings.
He's the clown from Brown. He's the fourth in the north. This is the Common Man, Dan Cole.
Whirlwind of activity all across the sports is your whole life just sports world. I'm going to wake up in a city that never sleeps, New York, the Knickerbockers. Since the first time since 1973, are world champions, and another former Minnesotan leaves town and wins a world championship. The Lynx and the Aces have a showdown, and the Aces come out on top. The Twins win their second game in a row. Quarterback controversy continues. We've crowned a National Hockey League champ. It's a hurricane in Carolina and World Cup soccer action continues. With all of those topics to get to, where do we start? Only the Wheel of Topic knows.
Commons golf game.
Interesting. I didn't see that
What'd you shoot today?
84.
Where'd we play?
Baker National.
Where'd you hit it on one?
Right up the gut. Perfect
How
drive.
far from the green?
I still had a ways to go. I just don't hit. If I said I don't hit the balls far, then I come over the top on a 7-wood, and I hit it left. I drop another ball just out of frustration, stuff it in close, but I don't play that one. So I made bogey there. It was one of those where I played 2 holes in six over. I had a quad. And then I played the other 16 holes in 6 over, which is okay for a chop. But I was laying it on the line. Sometimes it didn't work, and it did not work today. My biggest issue is it's going to be you are a resident. For me, from my era, my favorite detective and maybe one of the most popular would have been Columbo. Peter Falk played Columbo. It was part of the Sunday night NBC mystery movie series. They had Columbo would be on one week. Then Dennis Weaver played McLeod. He was a cop in New York City that rode on a horse. It was one of the most ridiculous, but it was a popular show. And then there was McMillan and Wife, and I think that was Rock Hudson and maybe Suzanne Plachette. Can you look up McMillan and Wife and see if I have the actor and actress correct? I think it was Rock Hudson and Suzanne Plachette, and they were all detective shows, right? Cop/detective shows. Of course, Rockford Files is my very favorite.
It's an American police procedural television series that aired on NBC from September 17th, 1971 to April 24th, 1977.
Okay.
Starring Rock Hudson and Susan St. James in the title roles. The series premiered in episodes as part of Universal Television's Wheel series, NBC Mystery Movie, in rotation with Columbo and McLeod.
There you go. So I had it right. So my Haight-Ashbury days hasn't completely fogged over my memory. So I always liked Columbo. How about you from your generation? Is there a TV detective or a movie detective that kind of stands out?
Sure there is.
Of course, there was always Dirty Harry, the Dirty Harry movies with Clint Eastwood. A man has got to know his limitations. Matter of fact, we have a soundbite from that movie. And that actually is the movie it's from. We always play that soundbite and always attribute it to a movie that's not even close. Like we'd say, remember that great...
Actually, I think this clip is from McMillan and Wife, actually.
Yes.
I know what you're thinking, Bunk. You're thinking, did he fire 6 shots or only 5? Now, to tell you the truth, I forgot myself in all this excitement.
Got those teeth graded like that.
But being this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world, and will blow your head clean off.
Clean off.
You've got to ask yourself a question. Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
I guess he was unlucky. He had one more in. He didn't count right. You know how we learned to count in Detroit? He must have learned the same way. 0-1, 0-2, 0-3. He wasn't able to get to 6. He thought he shot 5, and Punk didn't get lucky. I need someone to solve the mystery. You're my resident. I mean, you've twice now here. You solved the case of the taken titleists, and you also solved the case of the messy microwave.
We have another case?
Yeah. Can't think of a name for it. I should have thought this through a little bit better. Somebody took my trash can under my new cubicle.
Oh my gosh, you are above average at that.
Why would someone take my trash can? It was under my cubicle.
Yeah.
And there's a shortage of trash cans here. I think that's part of the reason.
We used to have our own individual ones per cube.
Now you have one.
Well, I took it as well.
Right. But
I took it from an empty desk.
Right. But you took it from an empty desk.
Yeah.
I had taken mine from an empty desk. So I had one. I don't think the one next to JG's is mine, but it might be. He may have taken it. I don't know if the security cameras are working.
Yeah. Don't even know if they're up yet.
If they are, could you comb through them and find out who took it?
What day was this?
Well, it was someday last week. That's the thing. I can't narrow it down.
What color was your trash?
I guess I wasn't that obsessed. That I can see why that, they always say witnesses to crime sometimes can't remember the details. I guess I don't know. I think it was a lighter gray, but I don't know that for a fact. It was small. It was probably not even, it's one of those, it's the same size as yours. A really short, tiny one that, you'd have to empty the trash every day because it's that small.
Yeah.
And why are some people not paying attention to the new rules about being minimalists? Have you seen JG next to his desk? All he's done is taken a cardboard box and moved all of the things from his last cube to this one, and those aren't supposed to be
I thought we weren't supposed to do that.
We're not supposed to do that.
I brought all mine home.
Exactly. That's what I did, too. I brought everything home. I asked Emily. She said, well, you can keep a thing or two. As long I have a little, square cube, like a Rubik's Cube. My wife had it made, but it's got pictures of the boys when they were really young, right? So I have that. I have the Scotty Groves record, my FCC radio telegraph operator's license, and a Common Man program hat. That's all I have on mine. That's it. Oh, and I have the head of a pink I-2 driver, a 2-iron. That's it. It's very minimal. You can't even see it. So people aren't paying attention to the rules around here either. They're not paying attention to the rules. They've taken my, is there any, maybe somebody can come up with the alliteration. We have the messy microwave and the taken Titleist. It's got something for the wastebasket. Maybe there's something better. Or the wandering wastebasket, because it's wandered off.
The castaway can?
The castaway can. That would work. Wandering wastebasket might work.
Garbage gone.
Garbage gone. We're all co-workers. Or you know what else I did too? So I'm wandering around attempting to give people free show. I think that's run its course. So I get over by the salespeople. I go, well, I've already bothered and kept 2 or 3 people from their work. Anybody else want me to do that? And then you know what someone said without looking up? Keep walking. Keep walking. I think I've worn out my welcome here, Timothy. I think people have, maybe they grew weary of me a long time ago, but it's starting to show.
Well, the smaller space makes it more challenging. You used to at least wander around throughout the entire floor.
Right.
You wouldn't see as much.
Maybe it's to the point where they're finally they're not going to hide it anymore. He's harmless for the most part. He only hangs around for a minute or two and then he moves on. But maybe now, like you say, with the smaller space and the pressures of trying to make budget, they just have no time for my nonsense. And so, matter of fact, I said to Greg Swedberg, I said, what are you working on? You're still working on Atlanta? No, we fixed that one. How about this? And he goes, I go, well, what are you working on right now? He goes, I'm working on a project for the entire company. And I said, what project is that? How to get employees who bother other employees to stop bothering employees. And I said, get your message. We'll take a break. We'll come back. Peek at the purple. There's controversial Vikings news on the other side of the break here on the Common Man program on the Fan.
The Common Man.
When you've been injured, the last thing you need is a higher bill at the gas station. That's why Postman Law is giving away $50 gas cards through Sunday, June 21st. Postman delivers for you, even at the pump. Enter free at postmanlaw.com.
Couple 13-14 pastime common. He is 10-B. Short work week for me. I'm out Friday and the following Monday. The 10 of Fitzgerald will set sail 12 noon Friday and then again on a Monday. My guess at noon, skies will be partly cloudy. Winds will be light and variable. And then about 12:02, 12:03, all of a sudden you'll look in the distance and go, looks like some dark clouds on the horizon. And then we'll see how it goes from there. Oftentimes it starts at at about 12:15, 12:30. It starts as a search and rescue mission, and then it turns into a recovery mission. But that all remains to be seen. That's I will not know because I will be long gone. I'm going to San Francisco. Peek at the Purple brought to you by our friends at Affordable Electric. We had summer storms. More are on their way. They can cause serious electrical damage, from lightning strikes to damaged service masts and power surges. If something does not seem right after a storm, do not ignore it. Affordable Electric provides safe, code-compliant storm damage repairs across the Twin Cities. 612-331-VOLT, 612-331-VOLT, or affordable-electric.com. Remember, Affordable Electric is shockingly affordable. Built up a tolerance to it. Still tickles, though. We're calling this version of Peek at the Purple Bust Alert. Bust Alert. I found one of those. Well, I found one of those. CBS Sports is my favorite because they I think, Tennessee, you know what? Do you know what lazy radio is?
It's list, list radio is lazy radio.
List radio is lazy radio, and they I think a list of websites are lazy websites. Bust alert: 8 NFL players running out of time to prove themselves entering the 2026 season. C.J. Stroud's on the top of that list, going to be, and rightly so. He's had his moments, but he's also had his moments, if that makes sense.
It's pretty crazy with him that, and I guess Carson Wentz maybe went through this a little bit too. C.J. Stroud, his rookie season, had a great rookie year. Mm-hmm. And people are like already deeming him like, this is a top 5 quarterback in the future.
Yes.
And kind of to see him get to the point where even by the end of the rookie contract, you're wondering if they're going to pay him. And now, it's a make or break year for him after that bad playoff performance he had last year in New England.
Yeah,
that was threw the ball away endlessly.
That was awful. That was as bad as it gets. Next on that list is our own J.J. McCarthy. Minnesota QB, number 9, season 3rd, drafted number 10 in 2024. Here's what they write. J.J. McCarthy is entering his 3rd season in the NFL and very well could have already played his last meaningful down for the Minnesota Vikings after being the 10th pick overall in 2024. The decision to go with McCarthy over Sam Darnold, who won 14 games for the club in 2024, blew up in the Vikings' face. Had I been the general manager or the coach, that never would have happened, but I wasn't and still am not. They missed the playoffs with McCarthy ranking as arguably the worst starter in the NFL, while old Sam Darnold had an arm, E-I-E-I-O, and went on to win a big game with the Seahawks. After McCarthy ranked last among qualified quarterbacks in completion percentage, TD to int ratio, and passer rating, Minnesota brought in a veteran Kyler Murray this offseason to compete for the job. Then they write there are 2 different categories tend to be why he will bust and why he won't. Which one do you want first?
Well, I'm more curious about why he won't bust, but I'd rather hear that last kind of a person.
Okay.
So let's go with why he will bust first.
The Vikings brought in legitimate competition in Murray this offseason, and the veteran appears to have the inside track to winning the job. With Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, the general manager who selected McCarthy, fired earlier this offseason, arguably McCarthy's biggest supporter is no longer in the building. I still don't believe that part of it. I do not believe he was the biggest supporter. I believe it was Kevin O'Connell or a share of the both. I don't think a GM throws we all realize, tend to be, and it all started with Notorious D.I.G. The most important position in all sports is quarterback. I don't think you just go look at you say, well, no, I'm sorry. I know you have your offense the way you like to run it, your system, and you know what quarterback would best fit your system, but I'm telling you, you're taking J.J. McCarthy. I don't believe it. Why he won't?
I think it's possible he was kind of like lukewarm on him.
He could have been.
Right?
Yeah.
Like even, we had heard rumors, now whether this is a Kwesi thing or a KOC thing, that they wanted to trade. They offered the New England Patriots
they did
3 first-round draft picks to get up and get to like Drake May, and New England smartly turned it down.
Why he won't? Murray has hardly been an Iron Man in recent seasons, which could give McCarthy an avenue toward becoming the Vikings' starter in 2026 and proving himself. He's only 23 and went 4-0 over his final 4 games last season. So there's some positivity and some negativity and all that in the players that really probably need to prove themselves this year. I don't know. If Murray becomes the starter, I don't believe that means, well, that's it for J.J. McCarthy. He will soon be out of a job in the NFL to be, he'll go where all the stars, and all the stars that never were are parking cars and pumping gas. I don't think that's going to happen to him. I think if Murray gets the starter's role, McCarthy will be the backup and he'll continue to learn. And if Murray struggles, gets hurt, whatever the case may be, I think McCarthy will play. But, yeah, he's definitely on that list of the 8 players. The other would be Brian Thomas of Jacksonville.
Another guy who had a phenomenal rookie season and then just completely tanked last year.
How about Miles Murphy, defensive end, Cincinnati? Malik Willis, quarterback, Miami.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
He was drafted in the 2nd round by Tennessee and didn't do a whole lot in Tennessee. But then last year, it's amazing how some of these guys get more value as a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Or he come in for a couple games at the end of the year and played well and got himself paid.
Keon Coleman, wide receiver, Buffalo. Was he highly regarded?
He was a second-round pick. I think, given the opportunity in Buffalo, there were higher expectations for him because there was not too much competition for targets there, but he has been disappointing thus far.
Marvin,
but I didn't think he was going to be good out of the draft anyway, so I think...
He wasn't part of Purple Prey?
No.
Marvin Harrison Jr.
That's an interesting one. The draft he came out, he was thought to be the guy, and obviously, clearly, you got the name to live up to with your dad.
4th overall. He was the 4th overall pick, I believe.
You know, he hasn't been awful, but compared to where he was projected, what he was projected to do, he has been a disappointment.
Correct. Michael Penix Jr.
Drafted in the same draft as J.J. McCarthy.
Yep.
Went above J.J. I think he's just been okay.
Yeah.
But I thought they reached for him when they drafted him in the first place. I liked him, but you know, he was like 24 years old when he got drafted. He'd played a lot of college football. I'm not sure. You know, sometimes those guys like a Bo Nix, the same thing. They can come in right away and be competent because they've played so much in college, but that also kind of caps their upside a little bit.
Let me ask you a question. You're a general manager or a coach of a National Football League franchise. You can take one of two players to be your quarterback. Penix or McCarthy. Who would you take? It raises some interesting issues.
Question.
It's a controversial question. It always is. It's controversial Vikings news during Peek at the Purple, brought to you by our friends at Affordable Electric. Short break, come back. We'll talk about, we've crowned a Stanley Cup champion and an NBA champion. We'll kind of review what happened there. And another interesting twist to the New York Knickerbockers victory. We'll discuss that as well on the Common Man program on the Fan.
It's 250 years of America and $250,000 from KFAN. Each weekday through July 3rd, listen for your shot at your share with $2,500. Enter the keyword at KFAN.com beginning at 8 a.m. and make your dream American trip a reality.
13:14 past here in the Common Man program. I'm Common. East 10 to B. You know, I purchased a lawnmower from my friends at Lano Equipment. They have 3 locations. They're located in Shakopee, Loretto, and Sweet Loretto, I call it, and Anoka. And my old mower was like a 21-inch mower. This one's 30. It takes like a third of the time less to cut the lawn.
Lucky.
It's so cool. Yeah, and it also has, this is what they told me. You know, it's self-propelled, right? You know, you walk behind it, but you press the do you say lever or lever?
I'm a lever guy.
Yeah, I'm a lever. Well, I'm a love it or lever guy, but that's a whole other story.
You're a leave it to lever.
Well, that's too, leave it to lever guy. That's what they should call their TV show on. It's KSTP, right? Should call it
leave it to lever.
Leave it to lever. So
I always love that one.
And they told me if you crank it all the way, you'll have to run behind it. It'll drag you, and it does. It goes fast. I mean, it literally. You know, of course, now I'm 5'7" and 3/4, and it pulls me along. I mean, it's your mama can't stop it, your daddy can't stop it. But I just love having it just sounds strong, and I bought it during Toro days, and you can too.
I had never seen one in person before, but I saw one of those robot lawn mowers the other day.
Okay.
Someone in our neighborhood has it. It was just randomly cut the grass. I'm still wondering, like, how does it cut every single blade of grass?
I have a video, and I think I talked about this when I was out at Edinburgh, USA. You know the big ones where the guy sits in the chair and drives them?
Yeah.
Those are automated now. I'll show you a video of it. It's all by, unless the mower guy at Edinburgh had a heart attack, fell off, and it was going by itself. It was one or the other. But I was astonished by it. Here's a text message that came into the Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line. It says, can we replace Peek at the Purple with this day in Commons golf history where you recount rounds from the past? If no, I'd still much rather listen to Wandering Wastebasket talk instead of Vikings news in June. It's June. People should be focusing on golf, not the Vikings. I tend to agree, but I've been told by those that matter that you can never lose talking Vikings. Receptacle robbery.
Ooh, I like that one.
The trash can caper. The case of the traveling trash can. How about this one, Tenby? Taking out the trash. That's good. Here's one. Transferred trash.
Ooh.
Or the bygone basket. That's another good one. But there are... Here's one. Common, how many times have you been fired from radio stations? Was it 6 times or only 5? I'd have to count. I got fired from the first station I worked at. And after I got bypassed, I was doing the 2 at night to 6 in the morning shift. And at 2 or 3 times, the 10 to 2 guy left and they replaced him with somebody else. And when I went to the program director, Paul Westcott, and I said, why do you keep bypassing me for the 10 to 2 slot? He said, because you have an irritating voice, and as long as I'm in charge, you'll work nothing but 2 to 6 in the morning. Have a good show tonight. That's what he actually said to me. No! He was right. I had an irritating voice, and I still do. But, back then I sounded like Mickey Mouse on helium. I'm Dan Cole with KQDI News. I sounded just like that, I swear.
That's how PA used to sound in the 90s.
Yeah. You didn't know how to talk for diaphragmatic breathing. I quit Clee in a tumble before they had a chance to fire me. Got fired in Forest Lake, got fired in Cambridge. And that was it. Otherwise, I've resigned from my other positions. That would be how many? Is that 4 times I was fired? Yeah. Someday it will be 5. It will happen here. We know that, but it's just a matter of when. We don't know if I'm at the beginning of the end, the middle of the end, or the end of my radio career here at the Fan. Though I've been relieved of my duty. Well, no, I was fired from Cool 108. I forgot about that. I used to do weekends on Cool 108. And one day they told me, we don't need you to do weekends anymore. That was it. Pulled the plug on me. And then, of course, I've been relieved of my duties doing Vikings Fan Line. Also was leading.
And Vikings pregame.
And 5 different times on Vikings pregame. So I guess we're running near double digits. Tennessee, the Carolina Hurricanes win last night 3-0. Was that an empty netter? I fell asleep.
Yeah, they got an empty netter, yeah.
3-0 victory. They win 4-2. Is that their first title ever? Or have they won before?
No, they won one 20 years ago.
20 years ago?
So their current head coach, Rod Brindamore, won one as a player 20 years ago.
Okay.
So he's kind of like Mr. Carolina Hurricane.
I would not have guessed. If you would have said, how long have the Carolina Hurricanes been in existence, I never would have said 20 years. How time flies when you're playing hockey.
Do you know what team they were originally?
Ottawa Senators?
Nope.
Let me give me one more. Hartford Whalers.
Yes, the greatest logo and color scheme in all of sports history.
Really?
I love the Hartford Whalers.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I always liked the Washington Walrus. I loved their logo. I loved the name of them. Of course, it never existed.
Poor Hartford never got anything to come back their way, have they?
No, they haven't. That's probably the only time in that city's history where they were
their only professional sports team.
Let me guess, they wouldn't build them a stadium, right?
Probably.
Why else would you leave? Or
they also had the greatest goal song.
What was it? Feels like the first time.
I used to have it in the system somewhere.
I'm told swarming defense was key to the Carolina Hurricanes winning last night and maybe through the entire season. Is that true?
Well, I had mentioned, it's kind of funny how through 4 games it looked like this is the greatest series in the history of the National Hockey League, or Stanley Cup Final Series. And Game 5 was the one where you started to see some cracks in the Vegas Golden Knights. All of a sudden, they just looked frustrated, taking dumb penalties. There seemed to be a goaltending swing. The young kid for Carolina, Bussy, had come in and all of a sudden started playing much better. And in a series in which there wasn't a whole lot of goaltending up until that point. And that carried over. So, I mean, the last two games, I mean, just absolute clinical by Carolina, but you kind of want you go, well, how are these games so close? The first four games, the way Carolina's played the last two. They got the early lead last night, and to your point, just defensively
lockdown.
Yeah, Vegas offense. I thought Bussy, did Bussy have to make a ton of saves? No, but I thought he came up big. There was a power play Vegas had at the end of the first period where they had a couple of good looks that he shut the door on. And then towards the end of the game, when Vegas was pushing, Bussy came up huge. But otherwise, he was just kind of yawning through that performance because he didn't see a lot of rubber come his way.
I've always contested that in the National Basketball Association, defense is a rumor during the regular season most of the time. I do think that when two teams, like let's say, OKC is going to play Denver, or maybe they're going to play the Wolves, or they're going to play San Antonio. When it's a matchup of two really good teams, then defense becomes a little bit, we'll play a little bit harder on defense this game. There are people that have contended, well, they do the same thing in hockey, and I've always kind of said, no, I think they play defense hard all the time in hockey. I guess there is proof that once you do get to the playoffs, you do turn it up a notch. It's just harder to tell in hockey during the regular season. For me, it's hard to tell if hockey players are going through the motions defensively. Where in the NBA, it's just obvious. You can see it. You can just see guys, they just decide they're not going to guard anybody. They're not going to go the extra yard and make that extra effort. But you did see it in the NBA Finals. I'm still astonished that New York was able to win 4-1. As hard as San Antonio played defense, particularly on Brunson, they did everything they could to prevent him from scoring, yet he goes off again, this time 45 points in game 5. They win 4 games.
He was unstoppable.
He was just virtually unstoppable. And so even when you're playing defense at a level that San Antonio was attempting to do, there was really nothing they could do about it. Here's a statistic for you, Tenneby. The percentage of time the Spurs led in each game of the NBA Finals. Game 1, 56% of the time. Game 2, 47% of the time. Game 3, 78% of the time. Game 4, 97% of the time. Game 5, 84% of the time. Those last 3 games in particular, the percentage that they led the game, 78, 97, and 84, goes to show you they knew how to get the lead. They just didn't know how to finish. In New York, rose to the occasion, and we have another example of a Minnesota athlete either being traded, leaving via free agency, or just being outright released, winning a world championship somewhere else. Bodega Cat, big me out. Now, I get it. For game 5, because of game 5, his face is on milk cartons in bodegas all across New York. Right? Now, he did have 8 rebounds, but he only had 2 points. He fouled.
Foul trouble.
He had foul trouble. But he played, obviously.
Well, that was so impressive about the game 5 win is he had foul trouble. Anobi had foul trouble. It was just the Jalen Brunson show.
Yeah. He was obviously a massive part of the reason that New York had the season they did and won the NBA championship. I had several people text me and email me to say, well, what happened to Cat? Remember when Jimmy Buckets called him out and this, that, and the other thing? See, I think Jimmy Buckets actually did him a favor. I think it was shortly after the Buckets situation where Towns kind of became a different player. He had always been considered soft, right? Not a lot of heart. Didn't go, it just wasn't that guy that was going to dig down deep, and he did. If you remember, was it the Denver series when he was still with the Wolves? He basically, I wouldn't say he shut down Joker, but he certainly his defensive efforts against Joker limited his effectiveness and was one of the main reasons why they advanced in that series. And he was really good all season long, and particularly for during the playoffs. And I think, like I say, I think what happens is players change and they mature, and I think that's what happened to Big Meow as he became Bodega. He went from Big Meow to Bodega Cat, sort of like caterpillar to a butterfly. Does a caterpillar turn into a butterfly, or is it into a frog? No, tadpole into frog, right? And that's what I think happened with Big Meow. Because we had remember Wiggins played for us. He went on to win a title was he like the sixth man for Golden State? But he won a title with Golden State.
Yeah, he did win one, yeah.
Kevin Love, I think, won a world championship when he left Minnesota. And, of course, Kevin Garnett did as well. Big Pappy. Twins released Big Pappy. Big Pappy went on to win a World Series. He's now in the Hall of Fame. And then, of course, the most recent, other than Big Meow, would be Sam Darnold. Old Sam Darnold had an arm. He helped us win 14 games, and we decided, didn't like what we saw in those last 2 games, and Sam has earned the right to become a free agent. And the rest is history. Darnold wins a big game, and McCarthy is just trying to hold on to his job, his career, right? There was also another story I saw. This was an Athletic piece by someone, his name is, hold on, I'm dialing up the story right now, Ian Connor. It's a commentary piece. He says why the NBA champion Knicks are the greatest team in New York sports history.
Wow.
In New York sports history.
Apparently not the Bronx Bombers.
Well, he makes a compelling argument, and I would say certainly they are. You could make the argument that they are the greatest New York sports team ever. He dismisses any of the early Yankees because, and I tend to agree. I mean, here's what he writes. Give me a second here. I got to get through all the basketball gibberish here. He writes, the Titanic teams from segregated times are limited. Babe Ruth would have found a way to be special in any era, but sorry, the 27 Yankees and any team in any league that shut out black athletes, given the moral offense and the record-breaking accomplishments of athletes of color to come, simply cannot qualify. The Yanks didn't suit up a black player until, the Hart kid for their team, for the Knickerbockers?
Yeah.
His great uncle is Elston Howard, which I did not know. Elston Howard appeared in 1995, so count the 1998 Yankees who won 125 games, including a then American League record 114 in the regular season, as the gold standard of New York's most successful franchise. He goes, they belong on the mountaintop right next to these Knicks who suffer in the regular season comparison with only 53 victories and only a .646 winning percentage. The 98 Yankees were .704. The two champs ended up with nearly identical postseason winning percentages. The Knicks at .842, the Yanks at .846. He says, though, but I always view regular season competition the way Brown did this year, their coach for the Knickerbockers, and the way George Steinbrenner and Brian Cashman viewed it when they spoke openly about a championship at their annual mission statement. October is all that matters in the Bronx. April, May, and June were all that mattered to Brown and the overlords who fired Tommy Thibodeau, James Dolan, and Leon Rose. Those 82 games were little more than a series of experiments designed for the Knicks to come up with the answer in the spring for the first time in 53 years. And that brings up, I'm going to run a little deeper in this, but that brings up another point of why the NBA, and in all baseball as well, and I guess you could put hockey in that same category, the seasons are so long. He's admitting here, at least in his view, that all you're really trying to do is win enough games to qualify. All those regular season games to me just become glorified pickup basketball games. And maybe it is in the hockey, too.
Like the way the Wolves approach it.
Well, yeah, exactly. And that's what frustrates me with the NBA is that you don't see, and look, I get it. It's difficult to play. If you watched what New York and San Antonio did during those 5 games, as hard as they played from start to finish, yeah, to do that 3 or 4 times a week after week after week during the doldrums of December, January, February, and March before the games release, where you start jockeying for position for your seeding in the playoffs. I get that. But that's part of the problem why I think whatever they're charging for tickets, it's a bit overpriced. He talks about the Islanders. He talks about the Rangers. He talks about the Jets and the Giants. And this is where he kind of loses me with the Jets. He says, over the decades, several teams have come and gone that could lay claim to GOAT status in the New York metropolitan area. The 69 and 86 Mets, Broadway, Joe Namath, 1968 Jets, who changed the game. And that's where he goes on to say in this piece about the Jets, I can't find it, but what he says about the Jets is they only had to win 2 games, right? AFC Championship, back in there it was the AFL and the NFL still, right? And so they won 2 games and they beat the Colts. But that's because football is just for the big game. It is just one game. You can't play a best out of 7, and you don't have, series after series. Now you do have, you have your wild card round, your divisional round, your conference championship. So you do have to win more games now. But the Jets were such underdogs going into that game. They were 18-point underdogs. That's like saying, the only bigger underdog might have been the Miracle on Ice United States hockey team. You're 18-point underdogs in the big game.
That's crazy.
And Joe Namath guaranteed to win. He said, we're going to win, and I guarantee it. And they did beat, and the Colts were a terrific football team. It wasn't like they were, they were an average team. They were a great football team, and the Jets beat them. So he makes a compelling argument. If you read the piece in The Athletic, it's a fun read. I can see where you would put those Knickerbockers near the top of the list as the greatest New York team ever. But I'd still, and maybe I'm just romanticizing Broadway, Joe Namath, and the Jets because it was back in my day, but I would still say beating the Colts when they were an 18-point underdog to me is even a bigger it would for me qualify them as the greatest of sports season. The greatest sports team in New York history. We'll break. We'll come back when we do. It's 5-3-4. Tenna, do you have a tease,
Well,
please?
NBA and NHL are donezo. Let's look ahead to next year.
The